My name's Chris McCarthy. I'm the founder of the ILN.
I'm Amy Heymans, and I'm founder and strategic consultant at Beneficent.
How did it start? Well, Amy and I have been in each other's orbits for a long time. And, the pandemic got everything very quiet. Post-pandemic, I reached out to her for a virtual coffee just to see what the heck was going on with her. Yeah. And almost by the end of that coffee, this was born.
Yeah, it's so funny because Chris had a conference going years back. I had a conference going. So this isn't our first rodeo with conference planning, but we have kind of different communities. And with this conference, we were able to bring both of those communities together. And that's been pretty magical.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've worked my whole career in human-centered design, and key to human-centered design is empathy, thinking about and feeling for our fellow humans to design better experiences for them, and spent a lot of time doing that in health. And about 4 years ago, my mother was in hospice care, dying with cancer. And through that experience, I was able to see hospice care firsthand. And in hospice, everything is about the dignity of the person, the relationships, the adding more life to their days as opposed to days to their life. And I started to think about, is empathy enough? How do we sort of codify empathy? I started thinking about ethics. I started thinking about how do we provide for dignity, and wanted to kind of bring together intersectionality between health and design, health and social impact, and bring all these kind of people and communities together to explore how do we design to ensure that humans are treated well in the systems that are supposed to serve them.
And, when Amy started sharing this theme that she had been working on for a while, it brought me back to my early days of design. My best friend died of AIDS at the end of the AIDS epidemic, and that was probably the most dignity-free experiences, watching lots of gay men die of HIV with very little people giving a damn. So my whole career has also been in human-centered design, tackling complex challenges time and time again, but this was the first time that the word dignity tied with design came to life, and just really felt like this was going to resonate not just for us, but for so many people. And I think the other piece is that when we were talking about it, it has meaning. Design for dignity, every single person we've said it to has an idea. But it's not a statement, it's a question. And everybody has their own answer to that question. And it seemed like a gathering like this would bring those answers together. So, at the end of our coffee, back in November, we had this theme. It resonated for the two of us. It was resonating with our friends and family who love to talk to us about this stuff. Now the hard part started. We had a theme. What is it? How do you gather people around this theme? What are the ways we want people to connect? And there are all kinds of ways of gathering. I mean, all of us have been part of traditional conferences. You show up, there's a talking head, there's more talking heads, there's many more talking heads, and finally, you get to these great sessions, and then even better, you get to the water coolers. And my desire has always been, and my value has been at those water coolers. How can I get to those water coolers faster and faster? And so when I'm thinking about gathering, I'm always thinking about how do we turn this inside out? How do we start with the water coolers? So I think at least that's my design process as I'm thinking about how we come together.
Yeah, and as we were sort of iterating on concepts, I mean, this was like a trust fall, right? It's a trusting relationship, because in the conferences and the convenings that I've run, it's been like the agenda and everything's super clear, and Chris wanted to do an open-ended agenda where the participants decide what conversations should be had, and we don't know going into it what it's going to be. And so that was a leap of faith for me, and I trusted Chris in that, and boy, am I happy, because the conversations that were had as a result were truly amazing. And I think it's part of that is the community. It's bringing together people and ideas, and the logo is a heart, and it's about convening a community that's envisioning a better future. But it's the bringing together of diverse lived experiences and different people coming from different organizations with different skill sets and different practices. And the open space agenda was the perfect way to highlight that.
You know, and I also think about, like, you know, we each had our own angst. You know, like her angst was with open space. Like, oh my God, you want to have the people co-create agenda live and that's going to work? But I mean, actually, my angst was over the rock concert, over the musicians, because, you know, I've not put on an event and blended that kind of experience in. And so I had to lean in also to some new ideas. And the combination, it could not have been a more powerful setup for open space than to have those 4 young people, including your daughter, set the tone of story. And actually, that's one of the challenges with bringing patients to these kinds of settings, is they're expected almost to interact the way we do. And this allowed these young people who told their own story in their own way, presented it their way through music and through spoken word. And that is the best startup of an open space I have ever been a part of.
Yeah, and it enabled us. I mean, we live within our heads, right? We're knowledge workers, but we're in health. We're in health because we want to make an impact, because we care. Everybody here has a big heart, but again, we're in our heads so much, and we'll throw around terms like, you know, medical bankruptcy, and like not think about it and be like, wow, that's awful, but then not think about it again. And the musician sort of helped bring us to our heart, bring us to our feeling, and helped us sort of process and get us back to like the why. Why are we here? Why are we doing this? Reminding us of the people involved, reminding us of the impacts that can be made. So that was huge. And, you know, the best thing about partnering with Chris is the fact that he was open to ideas. Like, he was open to bringing musicians in. He was open to bringing artists in. He was open to bringing Reiki healing in. And so, because he could have said no, and I would have been like, fine, I respect that. But he always said, most of the time, you know, said yes to all of these ideas. And so that was great.
Attendees who've never experienced open space are even more nervous maybe than you were in saying yes to doing open space. And I mean, I think I shared a story towards the end where I received a very stereotypical email from an attendee saying, but what is the agenda? I mean, you're saying there's no agenda, but like, you know, what's the surprise? Like, what is the actual agenda? And it's very hard for them to believe that they get to have autonomy and talk about and share in the ways they want to. I mean, we're so trained that somebody is going to get on stage and tell us the answer. And yet almost every single time, all of the answers are back here. This is where all the answers are. And to see them, like when I announce, like, okay, the marketplace is open. So that announces that we're gonna build this agenda. The looks on all their eyes, because I'm on the stage watching them, they're just like, oh crap, it is about to start. I don't even know what I'm gonna say. And then the first person goes on that side and announces. And then within seconds, you just saw the lines grow, because immediately they all started seeing, I own this. This is my voice.
Yeah, it creates a stance of action, and the participants are able to step into a role as leader, as facilitator. And I mean, you have a gathering of the minds. How many thoughts and ideas and how much passion there is, and this is how you unlock it. Because I heard from people in those sessions I wouldn't have heard from, and I saw things I wouldn't have seen. Like, I saw group therapy for designers happen, and a thing that, I mean, I saw how leaders can lead with more heart, and I heard from other leaders, and that kind of magic, it was surprising because I had never experienced it, but not surprising because, of course, back to the trust. So, yeah.
It feels like there was a lot of love being thrown towards us and that event, this thing called Design for Dignity. We have not fully settled on what is next. I imagine there's something. Is there a Design for Dignity Part 2? Is there a new theme that emerges from ILN Beneficent fusing as thought partners in gathering? So I believe there's something. We just gotta.
We have to figure it out. I mean, it's like there were so many events that were touchstones, pre-COVID. Some of those events continued, but people kind of might have gotten out of the habit of attending events. But, an event can be, even though it's annual, it can be a touchstone for people to come back to and kind of remind themselves of what's important, be inspired, be informed, have that group therapy, experience the community, and that's powerful. But could it be more than once a year? Could there be, virtual things once monthly? Could we provide the framework so others can kind of take it and run with it? Is it the same theme or a different theme? But I think this nurtured some part of people that was not being nurtured. I mean, when you have somebody come up to you in tears and say, I needed this, thank you. All you need is that one person, and you know that all the labor, and there was labor.
It was worth it.
It was worth
Yeah.
it. Yes.
I think just one other piece, and it comes from the concepts of this whole, with the open space that we did, which is the autonomy of individuals to just continue on. And so I think, so when you ask the question, is there something next? I mean, I hope there is, but I actually hope there's lots of next things.
Yes.
Like, I hope people are taking the autonomy that we return to them, because they already had it. We just provided this blank space for them to bring it to life. But as much as I hope there's something next for this, I hope that in a year from now, we hear about maybe 15 or 20 things that were next because of this, because folks gathered on their own terms and keeps this going.
Yeah, the cascading impacts, the ripples, I'm sure we'll hear about that, and I can't wait.
I'm a network guru. I've been doing this for 15 years. And what I will say is that you're right, it does require some cultivation. But
we sort of understand the pattern from experience and stuff.
Yeah, there's a dance between, as soon as there's a central hub, the autonomy starts evaporating. So we need to balance being central hub versus the interconnected community. So we don't want hub and spoke. We want smart networking where there's lots of crazy connections between folks. We need to add some energy to it for sure,
definitely.
But not hub and spoke. Dude, I've done that. I'm done with hub and spoke. Jeez. Mike's workshop.
Oh my gosh, Mike's workshop.
Dr. Hillary Carey, oh my God. That was one of the craziest asks for a workshop. So, I've known Mike for a long time. I've known Hillary for a long time. I've known Susie for a long time. And we just put out a simple ask. We said, hey, we're doing some workshops and we need some, we're looking for people to bring life and breathe life into Design for Dignity. And Mike came back with this idea of projecting people into the future, but not in a typical futurist way, like making it experiential. And then, most workshops, they bring maybe a workshop facilitator or two. Maybe they have some supplies, and every week it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger on the back end, not even on the front end. And that made me really nervous. I could not predict where this was going. But then I showed up at Mike's house for some prototyping, and that was my old team, and that was magical. Like me, Mike, and Jeff, and Mary just instantly clicked into our old innovation connections and started riffing. And I knew it was going to be magical, but I didn't realize until I walked into that room and saw the altar. And it was profoundly different and magical compared to anything I've ever seen for a workshop. That was the most unpredicted. Until I saw the actual altar set up, because I only saw paper versions,
Right.
like this thing just blew me out of the water.
And when I heard about it, I was like, heck yes, because I love futures, and I want there to be surprises. I want there to be things that get people out of their comfort zone, because if you're comfortable, you're not growing, you're not thriving. And art can inspire, but sometimes art is weird or dirty or it's surprising, or but you need that to be present. So I was very grateful to them for that. For me, the surprise was so many of my worlds coming together, and the people who I've known. I mean, my children were here. People I've worked with at this company were here. People I worked with at that company. People that I worked with, people that I bumped into at a conference, and I was like, wow, people listen when you speak and your voice has power. And I sort of didn't realize that until I'm like, wow, I invited these people and they came not for me, but because they care, because they want to be a part of a movement, because they want their work to matter, because they lead with heart and they want to be around others who do as well. And so that was very sort of eye-opening for me. I personally, I've been working from home since COVID. I feel like I've been in a cave, and this conference for me was like coming out of the cave and into nirvana, where I was seeing people that I love and talking about ideas that are very meaningful.
One more surprise, non-surprise. The American Nursing Association, who I'm so grateful, provided some sponsorship dollars for this conference and for the workshop. And I'm a proud member of their innovation board. I've been on their innovation board for a long time. So I'm not surprised that they sponsored. But I'm also surprised they sponsored because we came with such a wacky idea. And it actually gives me a lot of hope and a lot of joy that the ANA just leaned in and said, yes, like, let's do this. And so, like I said, it's a surprise and a non-surprise. Like I kind of knew they would, but then I was like, are they really gonna say yes to this workshop? So it just it just totally warmed my heart that an organization like that I think many view as old and stodgy is actually quite progressive and is doing really incredible work.